Hey everyone, welcome back to Fluent Vibes Podcast, your daily English practice podcast. I'm Amy.
And I'm Sam. Thanks for being here today. If you're new, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our daily episodes. We post a brand new conversation on books, life lessons, English tips, and many more every single day so that you may improve your English.
Imagine someone handing you an empty glass jar, right? And they look you dead in the eye and ask you to bottle a lightning strike.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, that's entirely impossible.
Right. And not just once either. Like maybe you get lucky during a random storm. No, they want you to bottle a lightning strike every single Tuesday morning at exactly 9:00 a.m.
Yeah, you would tell them they are completely out of their mind. You can't schedule lightning.
You really can't. But, and this is the crazy part, that absurd premise is exactly what we demand of ourselves all the time when it comes to our work.
Oh, absolutely. We do it constantly.
And that brings us to the focus of today's deep dive. We are actually doing something a bit unusual today.
Yeah, we really are.
Usually we have this, massive stack of research papers or some giant data set to wade through. But today we are looking at an incredibly brief piece of source material.
It's almost shockingly brief.
It is. It's literally just 8 words long. It's the title of a text and a tiny excerpt. Ready? Here
Right.
it is. The architecture of creative consistency, and then the phrase, how to maintain consistency.
It is extremely brief, but conceptually, it is incredibly dense.
It really packs a punch.
It does. And for you listening right now, whether you are trying to write a novel or code a complex software project, design a business plan, even just learn a new technical skill, you already know that consistency is the holy grail.
Oh, totally. It's the magic ingredient.
Right. It is the single biggest predictor of success.
But applying that consistency to something, creative or highly cognitive, that often feels like a massive trap.
Which is exactly why we need to spend this time deconstructing these few words. Because there is a massive paradigm shift hidden inside this tiny phrase, how to maintain consistency.
Especially when it's sitting right next to the idea of a creative architecture.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even begin to answer how to maintain consistency, we absolutely have to address the glaring contradiction right there in the source's title.
The tension between the words themselves.
Yes. Combining the word creative with the word consistency, they feel like they belong in two completely different universes.
They do, culturally speaking. We tend to view them as mortal enemies.
We really do. We usually think of creativity or like any kind of high-level problem solving as that lightning strike.
Right, the wild, unpredictable force.
Yeah, it's visceral. It's that sudden rush of energy that hits you when you're, taking a shower or driving your car.
Always when you don't have a pen, right?
Exactly. But consistency is Henry Ford.
The assembly line.
Yeah, it's a factory. It's a metronome just ticking away without any emotion or soul. So asking for creative consistency feels like asking someone to, bottle that lightning on a Tuesday. It's a fundamental paradox.
What's fascinating here is how deeply ingrained that assumption is in our modern psyche.
It's everywhere.
It is. We have this romanticized, almost mythological view of the artist or the innovator.
The genius waiting around for the muse to arrive.
Yes, the muse. We have this underlying belief that if you force the work, like if you put it on a rigid schedule, the output won't be authentic.
It'll just feel manufactured.
Exactly. It'll be soulless.
I hear you, but honestly, isn't there some truth to that?
How do you mean?
Well, if I sit down at my laptop and demand a brilliant, innovative idea from my brain just because the clock struck 9, my brain usually just gives me a blank stare.
Just the blinking cursor?
The dreaded blinking cursor. It feels suffocating to try and force spontaneity.
It does feel that way, but the source text is actively asking us to reject that myth entirely.
Wait, really? Reject it completely?
Yes. The tension you're feeling between the unpredictable lightning and the rigid assembly line, it's actually a false dichotomy.
Okay, I'm listening.
The true insight hidden in the juxtaposition of those words is that creativity isn't opposed to consistency. In fact, it fundamentally requires it.
Requires it?
Yes, if you ever want to see actual tangible results.
Wait, I want to challenge that. How does the lightning require the assembly line? That doesn't make intuitive sense.
Well, think about it pragmatically. Let's say you only engage in your creative work or your high-level coding on the rare days when you feel 100% inspired.
Okay, so when the lightning naturally happens to strike.
Right. If you only work then, how much actual finished work are you going to produce over the course of an entire year?
Well, when you put it that way, almost nothing. I'd
Exactly.
probably have a graveyard of half-finished projects, like things I abandoned the absolute second that initial rush of inspiration wore off.
Which is what most people have. The inspiration gives you the initial spark. It makes starting easy. But inspiration does absolutely nothing to help you finish the work.
Wow, yeah. It just gets you out the door.
Precisely. The text is pointing out that we have fundamentally misunderstood the relationship between these two concepts.
Hmm.
Consistency doesn't kill the creative spark.
It doesn't.
No, it creates the necessary conditions for that spark to happen more often.
Oh, I see.
You aren't forcing the lightning to strike on command. You are putting up a lightning rod every single day in the exact same spot.
To dramatically increase the odds.
Exactly. You're increasing the mathematical odds of a strike.
Putting up a lightning rod. Okay, that completely flips the narrative for me.
It's a huge shift, right?
It is. I'm not suppressing my creative energy by putting it on a schedule. I'm actually, giving it a highly reliable place to land.
You're giving it a designated home.
Yeah.
And that brings us directly to the next massive concept tucked into this short text.
Because if creativity is the lightning and consistency is the assembly line, the question is how you actually fuse them together in the real world.
Which leads us to the first key word in the source title, architecture.
The architecture of creative consistency.
Right. It doesn't say the habit of creative consistency.
Or the will tower of creative consistency.
Exactly. It deliberately uses the word architecture.
It's a highly physical, structural metaphor, and I feel like it changes the entire conversation.
It really does. Because it means we don't just wake up and try to do consistency through sheer force of will.
Like white-knuckling our way through the day.
Right. We have to actually build a physical and psychological architecture for it.
To me, this highlights the difference between pitching a flimsy nylon tent and pouring a solid concrete foundation.
Oh, I like that. Walk me through the mechanics of that analogy.
Well, think about a pop-up tent, right? Like one of those cheap ones you take to a
They're
festival.
the ones that fold up into a little circle.
Exactly. You can pitch that tent almost anywhere, totally on a whim. It takes a quick burst of energy, a little bit of inspiration. Maybe it's a sunny afternoon.
Easy to set up.
Super easy. But if you don't feel inspired today, or if a storm rolls in, let's say you get stressed at your day job, or you didn't sleep well, or your kid gets sick.
Real life happens.
Exactly, real life. That flimsy nylon tent is just going to blow away.
It has no roots.
Right. It has absolutely zero structural integrity against the elements. But an architecture. Architecture implies load-bearing walls.
Rebarring concrete.
Yes. It implies a structure that is mathematically designed to hold up your creative process, even when the weather is terrible and you are completely exhausted.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the underlying psychology here, this is fundamentally about cognitive load and decision fatigue.
Okay, break that down for us. What do you mean by decision fatigue?
Well, the reason we fail to be consistent isn't usually because we lack talent, and it's rarely because we lack the desire to do the work.
We want to do it.
We really do.
Mm.
But we fail because we are relying on our willpower to make 100 tiny micro decisions every single day before we even start the actual project.
Explain the mechanism behind that. Like, what is actually happening in the brain when we do that?
Sure. So every single time you make a choice, even a microscopic one, your brain burns a measurable amount of glucose.
Like actual physical energy.
Exactly. Decision-making is a highly energy-intensive biological process.
Yeah.
So when you just rely on a tent, your brain wakes up and immediately has to start spending that precious energy.
Right. Asking a million questions.
Exactly. When am I going to write today? Where am I going to sit? Should I clear off the kitchen table first?
What specific coding problem am I tackling?
What playlist should I put on? Do I need coffee first? By the time you answer all those questions, your cognitive battery is literally drained before you've done any meaningful work.
Oh, man, I know that exact feeling. I'm definitely guilty of this.
We all are.
I've definitely had days where I spend, an hour just optimizing my desk setup, finding the perfect lo-fi beats playlist, making the absolute perfect pour-over coffee.
Getting the vibe just right.
Getting the vibe right. And then I finally sit down to work, and I'm entirely burnt out. I end up just staring at the screen.
Because you spent all your cognitive glucose on the setup.
Yes.
But an architecture removes that entire burden of choice.
Mm-hmm.
When the concrete foundation is already poured and the load-bearing walls are already up, your brain doesn't have to waste a single drop of energy deciding how or when or where to be creative.
But I want to push back on this again, just a little.
Go for it.
If everything is pre-decided, if the routine is that rigid and the environment is that controlled, Doesn't that just turn me into a robot?
How so?
Well, where is the freedom for the art to actually happen if I'm just executing a script?
It's a great question, but it actually gets it slightly backward. The constraints of the architecture actually free the brain to be creative.
Free the brain by constraining it.
Yes, because you have automated the mundane decisions. Your brain has a massive surplus of energy left over to spend entirely on the novel, complex problem in front of you.
Oh, I see.
The architecture is the routine. It's the physical environment, the boundaries you set with your phone, the specific time blocks protected on your calendar.
So you don't have to think about them.
Right. When you step into that architecture, the structural decisions are already made. Your brain recognizes the environment, drops its natural resistance, and just gets straight to work.
So the architecture isn't the art itself. It's the sturdy, reliable room where the art is allowed to be wild.
Beautifully put, yes. You are designing a space where doing the consistent work is actually the path of least resistance. The structure carries the heavy lifting of simply showing up.
Okay, so let's say for you listening, you've done this. You've poured the concrete. You have great routine, a clean desk, a blocked out calendar.
You've built the architecture.
Exactly. You've
Yeah.
built it. So why do you still fail a month later? Because that leads us to the literal excerpt provided from the text. Here's where it gets really interesting. The ongoing practice of, quote, how to maintain consistency.
The maintenance phase.
Right. And this is where I think the real struggle lies for most people.
Oh, without a doubt.
We all know how to start a project with incredibly high energy, right? When you first draw up the blueprints for your new creative architecture, it's thrilling.
So exciting. You buy the new planner.
Yes, you set the new alarm, you organize your digital files into perfectly color-coded folders. It's like the honeymoon phase of productivity.
It really is.
But the text specifically zeroes in on maintaining consistency. So my question is maintenance really a fundamentally different psychological mechanism than building?
It is entirely different. And understanding why is really the key to this whole deep dive.
Okay, explain that.
Well, building is fueled by novelty. It's new, it's exciting, and biologically, novelty triggers a massive release of dopamine in the brain.
Okay, unpack the dopamine mechanism for us, because I think people often misunderstand what dopamine actually does.
They do. We hear it all the time in pop psychology, right?
Right.
We call dopamine the reward chemical.
Right, like you get a hit of dopamine when you finish something.
But that's not quite accurate. It's actually the anticipation chemical.
Wait, really? The anticipation?
Yes, when you are building a new routine or starting a new project, your brain is flooded with dopamine because it is anticipating a future reward.
Oh, wow.
It's high on the fantasy of how perfect your new system is going to be or how brilliant this new novel will turn out.
So it's the chemical equivalent of window shopping for a new life.
Exactly. I love that. It makes the effort feel completely effortless. But maintenance.
Yeah, what about maintenance?
Maintenance is completely devoid of novelty. Once the routine is built, and you're just executing the same steps on a random rainy Tuesday a month later, the novelty fades.
The shiny newness is gone.
And so the dopamine drops.
Yeah.
Your brain literally stops chemically rewarding you for just showing up.
Wow. So the biological tailwind just completely disappears.
Yes. Think about a physical building again. A building doesn't just stand forever without upkeep.
Right. Things break.
Pipes leak, paint peels, the foundation settles. Maintaining consistency is not the glamorous, dopamine-fueled act of putting up the walls.
It's the boring stuff.
It's the quiet, often tedious, totally unglamorous act of inspecting those walls for cracks day after day without getting a chemical reward for it.
So applying this directly to the listener's reality, let's say they intend to sit down and write a business plan or study for a big certification exam, but instead they hit the snooze button, or they end up like doom scrolling on their phone for 45 minutes in bed.
A very common scenario.
Very common. Historically, if I do that, I view it as a total moral failure.
You take it personally.
I do. I go into a shame spiral. I think, well, I guess I just don't have what it takes. I lack discipline. I'm lazy. How does this architectural framework change how we view that kind of failure?
This raises an important question, and honestly, it changes it completely. And I think this is the most empowering part of the text.
Really?
Yes. Because when you view consistency as a personality trait, failing to be consistent feels like a deep character flaw.
Right. It means something is wrong with you.
But when you view consistency as an architecture, a failure is just a diagnostic tool.
A diagnostic tool. I really like the sound of that. But how does it work in practice?
Well, think about the physical building again. If a roof leaks on a building during a storm, The architect doesn't fall to their knees in the hallway and say, I am a morally bankrupt person. I lack the inner willpower to keep the rain out.
Right. That would be totally ridiculous. They just, grab a flashlight, get a ladder, and look for the hole in the shingles.
Exactly. They inspect the system. They look for the structural flaw.
Yeah.
When you fail to maintain consistency, it is not a personal failure.
It's a system failure.
Yes.
Yeah.
It simply means a part of your architecture needs adjustment or repair. You just inspect your system.
Okay, let's take my doom scrolling example from earlier.
Perfect. Did you fail to write your business plan this morning because you lack creative vision and discipline?
I mean, that's what I usually tell myself.
Right, but look at the structure. Or did you fail because your architecture allowed you to keep your phone on your nightstand right next to your bed with all the notifications turned on?
Ah. The structural load of resisting the phone was just too heavy for my cognitive walls to bear.
Precisely.
Hmm.
The fix isn't to hate yourself. And it isn't to try and summon more magical willpower for tomorrow morning.
Because willpower burns glucose.
Exactly. The fix is architectural. You move the phone to another room, you buy an old school alarm clock, you patch the leak in the roof.
That entirely removes the shame from the equation.
It really does.
And the shame is usually what causes a one-day slip-up to turn into a 3-month dry spell. Like, we feel so bad about missing a day, we avoid the work entirely so we don't have to face that bad feeling.
Shame is completely paralyzing. It shuts us down. But architectural curiosity, that is empowering.
Architectural curiosity, that's a great phrase.
If the system broke down today, you just step back and say, okay, the load-bearing wall didn't hold. Why?
Was the cognitive load too high today?
Did I skip my shutdown routine the night before?
Yeah.
Is my environment too loud? You tweak the architecture, patch the leak, and try again tomorrow.
It's just such a more forgiving way to work. Maintaining consistency isn't about rigid, flawless perfection.
Not at all.
It's not about never making a mistake or never missing a single day on your habit tracker. It's about having a system in place that is robust enough to handle the inevitable failures of real life.
And flexible enough to be repaired when it cracks. It's the ongoing humble practice of tending to your structure.
Tending to it, yeah.
Maintenance requires a totally different psychological approach than building. It requires patience, observation, and a willingness to iterate and tweak the system without ever taking the breakdowns personally.
So what does this all mean for you listening? We started this deep dive with an incredibly small drop of source material.
Just an 8-word title and excerpt.
Right. But by unpacking the psychology and the metaphors behind it, it forces a massive paradigm shift.
It really is a profound way to look at the daily work we do, whether that work is artistic, technical, or entrepreneurial.
The key takeaway here is a total shift in how you view yourself and your projects. You have to stop trying to force creative consistency through sheer white-knuckled willpower.
It just doesn't work long term.
It doesn't. Stop waiting around for the mythological lightning to strike you, and stop beating yourself up when your flimsy nylon tent blows away in the wind of a busy week. Instead, you need to start acting like an architect. You need to build a reliable, concrete structure, an environment, a routine, a set of firm boundaries that removes the burden of choice and protects your cognitive energy.
Yes. And then you have to embrace the quiet, unglamorous work of maintaining that structure.
The maintenance phase.
Inspecting it for cracks and repairing it with curiosity rather than judgment. And if we step back, this framework fundamentally respects your time, your biology, and your energy.
So much healthier.
It is designed specifically to prevent the boom and bust cycle of burnout that so many of us get trapped in. By relying on a solid architectural system rather than fleeting, unpredictable, dopamine-driven inspiration, you are giving yourself permission to do the work sustainably over the long haul.
You are protecting your creative energy rather than constantly exhausting it on the setup.
Exactly.
It's about letting the structure do the heavy lifting so you can just focus on the art. Which brings us right back to the beginning. We didn't need a whole ocean of data today to find something incredibly valuable.
No, we didn't. Sometimes the smallest fragment holds the most powerful structural blueprint.
It really does.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, building on everything we've unpacked today.
Lay it on us.
Think about the last time you felt completely blocked or totally unable to be consistent with a project you truly cared about.
We've all been there.
What if the core problem wasn't a lack of inspiration? What if it wasn't a lack of discipline or willpower?
What if it was just structural?
Exactly. What if it was simply a missing pillar in your creative architecture?
a structural flaw just waiting to be fixed. It's a completely different way to look at the problem.
It is. Time to grab your hard hat and inspect your foundation.
If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend who's learning English. We'll see you tomorrow with another easy conversation. Bye, everyone.